Hi everyone, welcome to Kelontong Ruru channel. I create this first time English spoken content to appreciate you guys that come and still following us, supporting us by asking question and else. I really appreciate that. And for the first time, I wanna share English spoken information to you. Nah, as you know that Ampularia basically comes from lowland areas here in Indonesia. And I think that you guys already know that they need a warm temperatures, a lot of humidity, and else. But what I want to share is different to another Nepenthes, especially intermediate or highland that needs a cool climate and a lot of wind circulation and very porous soil mix or media. Ampularia is very unique, I think. Why? Because they don't really need a good circulation. Like you can see, I grow a lot of Ampularia in this special cage. You know, it's basically a giant bagging bag, a plastic bag, like what you say when you have Nepenthes that recently arrived, you just bagging it, right, to create more humidity. But here I create a giant plastic bag, some kind of cage, special for every lowlanders here, especially Ampularia and Rafflesiana. And this is a proof that Ampularia can thrive very well in a bad circulation areas like this. And as you can see, they are still featuring, they make rosettes, basals. And another important thing, as you can see here, I created what is basically a giant water tray. And this is another unique factors of Ampularia compared to another Nepenthes. They can grow in relatively compact soil, as you can see here. It's not porous. And then the pots growing around the third of the pots in water. And even compared to this, almost drowned. And the water is stagnant, as you can see. But I create some countermeasures for pathogen like this. I put some water plants to create a competition for algae and another pathogens. I also put some kind of, how do you say it in English, yeah, a bio countermeasures. I put some bacteria, some beneficial fungi that works against pathogen microbes. And I sometimes I already put a little dose of 2% hydrogen peroxide to clean off the pathogens in the water. And as you can see, there is no dangerous effect or harmful effects to the plants. And the stagnant air with relatively high humidity, when I drop this curtain here, it's totally enclosed, right? And the temperature will be very hot, very humid, and it's gonna be unpleasant for humans to be around here when the curtain is dropped. But as you can see, they make a lot of pictures, they thrive so well. And this one, the leaves is very compacted because it's stuck in the hanger. And I think Ampularia also has some symbiosis with ferns like this, because a lot of my lowlanders tend to be grows more better when the medias also growth or occupied by ferns like this. And another, besides this giant cage and giant water trays with some bio countermeasures against pathogens, I also put some foods into the pitchers. And my most recommended food for the pitchers is Decastar. Decastar is a local brand of Osmocot here in Indonesia, and I prefer the relatively low nitrogen content with high P and K content. So in Indonesia, the Osmocot that is available is 6, 13, and 25. As you can see, it's relatively low in nitrogen. Why? Because I prefer that the leaves to be small and the pitcher is gonna be big like this. And P and K is actually very beneficial for the growth of the pitchers, because in most journal that I search, especially about carnivorous plants and other productive plants, I think this is my own opinion and my own hypothesis, that N usually affects only the leaves, but P and K affects the stem, the strips of the leaves, and the size of the pitchers. So the N usually only used to form the leaves, not the pitchers. The size and the robustness of the pitchers usually affected by P and K. And then what else? As we can see here, contrary to popular beliefs, you can find in many articles that lot of people saying that Ampullaria usually doesn't need a lot of light. I think that's wrong. Why? Because in habitat, a lot of people, and some of them are my friends and acquaintance, they say that the basals or rosette, as you can see in here, it's just a basals. But the main stem, as you can see, already growing into even 20 meters or 30 meters in habitat like this. So basically, they get a strong sunlight by the main stem, and the main stem distributing the energy of photosynthesis they got to the roots and the basals. And it's already proved that a lot of growers of Ampullaria here in Indonesia also grows Ampullaria in sunlight, in direct sunlight. And they still grows very well and thriving. And then for the temperature, I think it's not very beneficial also. I already seen some of my friends that lives in highland areas here in Indonesia. They can still grow Ampullaria. And the Ampullaria is nice and thriving, I think, because it still makes good pictures, nothing detrimental, and the plants is good, the leaves not curly, and else doesn't show any sign of stress. And besides this is my nursery areas. Usually I make cuttings, or this is where I acclimate my newly acquired plants. And as you can see here, we can move. This is the famous variegated Ampullaria. I already forgot the pot is already occupied by ferns. See? Even not they are not growing in the cage, they are still grows very well in direct sunlight. As you can see, the variegation is still good. They still make pictures. Sorry, this is Hookeriana. I think there is no pictures left in this main stem because the weather is not very nice. See? Even with these relatively small basals, they still make pictures with variegated leaves. And this is another infamous Ampullaria, the Black Miracle ones. A cultivar originated from Indonesia, but how do you say it in English? The Thailand grower make it Black Miracle famous by the hybrids. And as you can see, with more relatively direct sunlight and with big stem like this, they tend to make aerial rosette like this. And I think the more reason to create aerial and ground rosette like this, see, very massive clump of rosettes. This is a very nice and healthy plant. I think the reason is our patience to grow a clump of rosettes like this, because they usually need a relatively tall and long stem like this. And as you can see, the pot is still relatively small. And one of another factors I think is because I'm using tanah gambut as the media. Tanah gambut is what you guys call peat moss, but peat moss usually come from the rotting process of sphagnum, right? But tanah gambut in Indonesia usually comes from everything from leaf litters, from dead carcass, and else. We have different ecosystem of the wet forest or bog here in Indonesia. So the peat moss or tanah gambut doesn't come from sphagnum moss, but from everything in the wetland. You see, it's usually a soil. See? It's like a black soil. And what makes a good clam rosette like this is the light, I think, and the nutrition. I give them the Osmocote or Decastar with relatively low nitrogen. And another tips for you guys that wants to collect the real Ampullaria Black Miracle, some people saying that they got scammed by the seller that playing bad, that they sells actually a hybrid between Globosa Ampullaria Black Miracle cross Ampullaria. But to differ the fake plants from the real Ampullaria Black Miracle is this aerial rosette. The hybrids of Globosa ampullaria cross ampullaria doesn't produce this kind of aerial rosettes. And this is another recently found of unique ampullaria. Where is it? This one. I call this one an Ampullaria Red Miracle. Since the system of cultivar is not very well here in Indonesia, I cannot list this cultivar with my friend Malcolm, who recently described Nepenthes longiptera. But we already tried, and hopefully soon we can register this cultivar. This is a wild plants that got collected by a hunter here in Indonesia. Although usually I'm not supporting a poaching or hunting of wild plants, but these plants already poached from the wilds, and rather than died in the hands of the hunter or exported outside of Indonesia, I'm willingly rescue this plant. Because I think this is the local pride of Indonesia, unlike the Black Miracle, which I think already become the pride of Thailand. But I think it's unfortunately because Black Miracle originating from Borneo, part of Indonesia. As you can see, the leaves have shades of purple or black red. You can see it clearer in here. And the different parts of this ampullaria from Black Miracle tend to have a striped green leaves, but this one is a full red features. You can see that I'm using tanah gambut here, mixed with perlite and osmunda. And this one is also special, another variegated ampullaria. And as you can see, because of the lack chlorophyll pigments in the leaves, they have difficulties to grow the pictures because they cannot get energy very well from the photosynthesis. This is tanah gambut. You can see it well. It's actually more clayish, more lumpy compared to Western peat moss. It's actually a soil with a lot of organic content. But usually the organic content didn't come from sphagnum, from leaf litters here in the rainforest or the swamp of Indonesia. And as you can see, every lowlanders grow well in here. This is the giant Rafflesiana. They are very thriving and very happy here. And what's unique about this one is they have red leaves. Underside of the leaves margin. Very beautiful, right? And as you can see, this is the setup. I only use 50% paranets or shadings in here. In the summer, the temperature can be around, the local record here is around 39, and relative humidity in the day is around 40%, and at the night it's around 70%, but with a lot of wind in here. So that's all. Maybe if you want to have a discussion or a content, you can ask to us in the comment. Sorry, since English is not my mother language, maybe there is some miscommunication or something is missing in the translation, but you can ask to me directly in the comment. And I hope that we can have some kind of discussion to improve Ampularias in everywhere to make them thrive. Okay, thank you everyone.